take a look at page Yud Ches, page 18. The new paragraph for Tiri Ode has a caption to it. This caption, as we've mentioned, was written by Rav Friedlander in his publication of the Daas Tevunos. And he gives a caption when necessary to explain what's about to come in the Ramchal. And this is the caption that he wrote for where we're headed. Chesronos ha'adam, man's imperfections, v'hashlamosam, and repairing or completing yourself, perfecting these imperfections, v'kabbalah schara, and man receiving reward for perfecting himself, Sharsham b'yesod gilui hayichud. All these are rooted in a concept of the gilui, the revelation of God's yichud, his uniqueness, which includes God's unique sovereignty, which makes God the only one in control of everything. So we don't have, of course, we understand there are malachim and there are other things, but ultimately they have no power. They are not independent of God. We discussed that. So that's an important concept when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He's one and there's no two. He's one, he's a perfect unity. And he's one, he's the only one. There's nothing that compared to him. And he's a Echad Yochad Miyuchad. He's the Shalit Bakol. So the world that we live in, which both the world and each of us has perfections, has imperfections, that we're working to perfect. And the idea of reward for perfecting the imperfections are all grounded in the idea of the yichud. And that's what's going to be developed now through the Ramchal. So Ramchal writes, V'tiri od lefanim b'siyata d'shma, you're going to see further in the Sefer, when God willed to create and build the world and supervise and administer it, from that will, God willed the world and he willed to supervise it and administer it. That will from there triggered all the ideas. Hainu chesron ha'adam, man's imperfections, shleimus avodaso, his perfection in serving Hashem, v'kibul scharo, his reward, mashalom nimsach mishum seder acher, which for us, in our understanding, wouldn't be possible from any other order. In other words, from our human understanding, the perfect system for the Gilui HaYichud is a system in which there are perfections, imperfections, working to perfect the imperfections, and reward. Those concepts, when put into the system in an orderly way, can bring about the Gilui HaYichud. Rav Friedlander explains in footnote 8 something that he wrote an essay on at the bottom of page 18. I don't want to read the whole footnote, but I'll explain it because it's a very important concept and we've raised this issue several times. When we opened the Daas Tevunos, the Ramchal told us that the purpose of creation was lehetiv. God created the world because he willed to do good. In order to do good, you have to have a recipient. So God created recipients upon whom he can bestow good. That's the tachlis habriya, that's the purpose of creation. The Ramchal has been talking about now, the purpose of creation is the Gilui HaYichud, to reveal God's unique sovereignty and unique wisdom, unique power. Everything is unique and not comparable to anything else. And we need to reveal this, but before we can reveal it, we need to understand it. The whole Sefer Daas Tevunos almost is built on this. This is a core concept in Ramchal, Gilui HaYichud. Now, how do those two things live together? How is the purpose of the world? God created the world in order to bestow goodness on others, and yet God created the world to reveal his uniqueness. So this is what Rav Friedlander deals with. It's a long footnote and continues to page 19. And in summary, what he's saying, and this becomes self-evident from reading Ramchal, what he's saying is that God created the world to be mative, to bestow good on people. And he created a whole system to do that. Freedom of choice. You make choices, you get reward. It's a system that requires reward and, God forbid, something else, consequences, we call them today. Because if everybody was getting free lollipops, then nobody got a free lollipop. If everybody's getting, whether you deserve or you don't deserve, then why would I put in my effort to making the right choices if irrespective of whether I deserve or I don't deserve, I get the same lollipop? So the system, in order to have a concept of reward, requires that you get online for reward. And right now you can't get online for reward. You need to stand aside until you perfect yourself or do certain things, tshuva, whatever it's called, and then you can get on the line for the lollipop. But you can't get on the line right now. And that's what we call din. The din comes and says, you can't right now receive reward. Please leave the line. But after you do tshuva, you can come back to the line and get your reward. So din is absolutely necessary for chesed. If you don't have din, you don't have chesed. Din is not punishment, a terrible thing. Din is setting parameters for chesed. Who is going to be rewarded? Everybody. Just give out lollipops to everybody. Then nobody got reward. Everybody got a free lollipop, and it's immaterial what you did with your life. In order to give parameters to reward, in order to feel that you got a chesed, there has to be two lines. In the second line, people need to do certain things with their lives to get onto the line to get the lollipop. So God created the world to be mative. He created the world for hatava. He wants to bestow good. The ultimate hatava, if the goal is to be mative, to bestow good, the ultimate good is Gilui Hayichud. So we're dealing with two ideas here. The ultimate goal of creating the world was to bestow good, and the ultimate good is the Gilui Hayichud. The Gilui Hayichud means, as we just learned in Yeshayahu, Odcha Hashem ki anafta bi, Yoshev apcha u'sanachamein. We go through life with these snippets of times, bad times, chas v'shalom, good times. People have bad memories, people have good memories, and we live in these snippets of times. This was a good year, God forbid this was a bad year. This was Corona Pesach, this was the good Pesach. We go through snippets of times, and we keep these snippets of times separate in our minds, because that's how our minds work, past, present, future. This is the past Pesach, the Pesach of Tavshin Pei, the Corona Pesach. That's a compartment in my mind. The year before that was a nicer Pesach. And next year in the future, we'll have a beautiful Pesach with Mashiach. That's how we think. But that's because we're looking at snippets of time. The truth of the matter is, Od Hashem can after be. I'm going to be able to, one day when Mashiach comes, say, thank you, Hashem, for that whole picture. It wasn't the good Pesach, the Corona Pesach, and the good Pesach, and yes, Hashem next year. It's going to be one big picture. You're going to see, you're going to be able to say, thank you, Hashem, I fell down, I got a nail in my leg, and I didn't make the ship. Thank you, you saved my life. We can't understand that now, just as the person who fell down couldn't understand at that moment. But later, when the ship sunk, he really understood that God saved his life. It took a nail to save his life, but God saved his life. And so the Gilui HaYichud, when God reveals, when we work on revealing God's uniqueness, that he's the only sovereign, and he's only been the sovereign, and he's running the world at every millisecond for a purpose, and the purpose is the Hatava. And we don't understand it, because we go through snippets of time. We say, this is not a good thing to happen to me. This is a terrible thing. Why is God doing this to me? But we're going to say, Od Hashem can after be. We're going to be able to thank Hashem for those moments that we can't thank Hashem for now. And so Rav Friedlander explains that God created the world lehativ, to bestow good on human beings. And that ultimate good is going to be the Gilui HaYichud, where at some point in time, B'mheir Yameinu, we're going to be able to look back at our lives and understand all of our lives. We're going to be able to understand all of history. People spend so much money today on understanding themselves. They want to find their selves. They want to understand themselves. People spend so much time and energy and listening to all these seminars. I'm looking for myself. I want to find myself. Who am I? Why did this happen to me? Where am I headed? Where am I going? What should my future direction be? If someone were to sit down with you and say, I want to show you something, I'm going to show you from the beginning of Adam Arishan, from even before that, I'm going to show you till Mashiach comes, I'm going to show you the exact place that you fit into this puzzle of billions upon billions of people that have lived on planet Earth since the beginning until Mashiach came. I'm going to show you exact place. I'm going to show you how important you are. You're not just some silly puzzle piece on the side that fits into a million-piece puzzle. I'm going to show you how intricate this puzzle is and how important you are in this puzzle. I'm going to show you your purpose. I'm going to show you what you accomplished. People have a tremendous simcha to understand their lives, what happened, why it happened, and how their lives and what they did was an intricate part of the whole history of the entire universe. That's a tremendous simcha, emotional simcha for a person to have. So when we talk about the Rabbona Shalom, the purpose of him creating the world is lahativ. He wants to bestow good on creation. That's his will. The ultimate good that God can bestow on a person is the Gilui HaYichud that we're working on. So we can understand Hashem Echad, Shmo Echad. He always was here, always is here, always will be here. And he's running the ship constantly. And it's all Oit Hashem Ki Anachtabi. That's what Friedlander basically explains in the long footnote 8. Let's read some Ramchal now, page Yutes. Amr HaNeshama, the Neshama said to the Seichel, remember the Daas Tevunos is an internal dialogue, and the Neshama is talking to his Seichel. The Neshama said at the beginning of the Sefer, I believe in the 13 Animamins as articles of faith. 9 of them I even understand. 4 of them I absolutely believe in. I have Amunah. But 4 of them I have Amunah, but I don't understand. And those 4 were Hashgacha. I don't see how God supervises the world. It looks like the world is Chas v'sholom in chaos. It looks like the pilot left the plane at some kind of automatic pilot. Where's God? Where's he running this thing? It doesn't look like he's running the ship. It's out of control. Schava Onesh, reward and punishment. Obviously, if the pilot or the teacher left the room, it's a hefgevelt. There's no reward, there's no punishment. Everybody in the room is doing whatever they want. And then the 2 rewards, Bias Mashiach and Trias HaMesim. I believe in these things. I don't understand them rationally. Amar Neshama, so Neshama said to the Seichel, I am waiting eagerly, the Neshama says to the Seichel. I want to understand what you just said. How from this concept of Gilui HaYichud, revealing God's unique quality, that there's no one that can compare to him, and he's the only sovereign over everything. I want to understand how from there the system of the world comes out. How did that trigger perfect, imperfection, reward, punishment? How was that triggered from this idea of God revealing his uniqueness? Next paragraph. Hagdoras HaYichud, this is the caption that Rav Friedlander put in. the core idea of the Yichud, it is to negate, or someone, when we spoke about this a week or 2 ago, negation theology. Please don't read negation theology. But this is a concept, the Jewish concept of negation. The only way we can understand the Yichud is through negation. Ulam shar hamaylos, all other qualities of God, hagdarosam b'derech hachiyuv. They are positive qualities which we don't understand. We spoke about this. Someone wants to say, God, I want to learn about God's wisdom. I'm going to spend my life delving into the full magnitude of God's wisdom. Okay, you can't do that because you're never going to get it. And the attempt to do it is galay aleinu, a degradation of God. The Gemara says in Megillah, Mi Yamalel Gvuras Hashem, who can utter God's praise, his power? Yashmiya Kol Tilosai. Give it a try. If you can absolutely give us the full definition of God's power, go ahead. But if you can't give us the full definition of God's power, don't even start, because once you start and you don't finish, you'll be degrading God, forbid God. I want to tell you how powerful God is. He has 1 million nuclear arsenals that are greater than the United States nuclear arsenal. That's how powerful he is. And that's all you have to say about how powerful God is? Is that it? That's it? 10 billion times. No matter what you're going to say, you're going to degrade what God is. You don't talk about the positive attributes of God. And we mentioned the mere fact that we can say in Shmona Esrei, Hakel, Hagodol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, we have no permission to describe God in a positive way. Godol, Gibor, Nora. The Gemara tells us in Barachas and Megillah that the only reason we have the right to say Godol, Gibor, Nora is because there's a pasuk in the Torah in Devarim where Moshe Rabbeinu said, Go Gibor, Nora. And since he was permitted to say it, we can say it. If not for Moshe saying it, we couldn't say it. It creates a problem. When you start describing God in a positive way, his qualities, you're going to run out of gas before you ever finish describing them. And when you run out of gas, you'll end up with degrading Chas v'Shalom God. And the Gemara gives a mashal. Gemara says a person is in the king's palace and he starts praising the king about how much silver he's seen in the palace. This palace is beautiful. I saw silver here, and I saw silver there, and I saw silver there. And there's a great part of the palace that's made of gold. He has therefore degraded the king. He's focused on silver, and there are much greater things to praise the king for. And likewise, the Gemara says, you don't even know how to start praising God. So don't start, because you couldn't possibly finish. And if you can't finish, you're degrading God, Chas v'Shalom, so we don't even start. So we don't understand, we cannot discuss God's positive qualities, but we can do the yichud. Yichud means negative. God's a chacham. How much of a chacham? I don't know. It's so unique it can't be described. God is a gibor. How powerful is he? I don't know, and I refuse to start describing it because it's so unique it can't be compared to anything. And that's what the Ramchal is now going to begin explaining. Amra Seichel, so the Seichel said back to the Neshama. Remember, this Neshama's question that we're working on now is, explain to me how the Yichud, if that's the purpose in creation, the ultimate Hatava of Yichud, if that's the purpose of creation, how did that trigger perfection, imperfection, reward, and punishment? How did Yichud generate this kind of system? Amra Seichel, so the Seichel said, what we need to understand to a great extent, the imperfections that are found in the Bria. God did not create a perfect world. Beginning of Daas Tevunos, God created a perfectly imperfect world so that we can become partners with him in creation and perfect the world through our conduct. We need to understand these imperfections in creation. Inyan haros hanimtzosba, and the evil that is found in these imperfections. Shehem inyanim shelo kachak shlemusa yisbaruch Moshe biyanu, and these are not really godlike qualities. The Greek philosophers, etc., and the Greek mythology, they couldn't understand how from a perfectly good God, bad things can happen. And therefore, they created multiple gods, the God of light, the God of darkness, the God of evil, the God of good, the God of men, the God of women. They couldn't figure out how one God can give off so many different opposite effects. So this is not really a quality of God, that there should be evil and imperfection. The perfect God, how did imperfect come from a perfect God? And where does evil come from in the world, if it's from the ultimate goodness of God? And many people have stumbled on this concept. They've concluded that God is perfectly good. There must be a different God that's responsible for the evil, chas v'shalom. According to God's perfection, we should only be seeing good. But now I'll explain to you everything clearly. When we say that God is a yochid, he's one, unique, we certainly understand that there's no second God. There's no opposite of him. If he's the good God, there's no opposite bad God. There's nothing that can stop him. He's not a muchruch, as we spoke about last week. Nothing stops God. He can do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. And this Catholic idea that the Ramchal dealt with, that the Jews, after the second Beis Hamikdash, God had given up on them, and therefore a different fellow had to come up and start a new chosen people. And they call themselves the new Israel. And the Jew became the wandering Jew who will never, ever come back to his home, which of course was now been proven wrong, as the prophets told us. And now that whole theology is wrong. And we've talked about the problems that the Catholic Church has with the return of Jews to Eretz Yisrael. Ribono Shel Olam is ein monelo. There's nothing that can stop him. He does what he wants. And this idea of the Yichud completely contradicts and undermines the 5 forms of apikuros that we learned about. Nimtza, therefore, therefore, it's not enough that we understand God as the ultimate good. We also have to negate from him anything that's opposite. Meaning, while we understand that God is perfectly good and he willed to create the world to do good, we have to negate the opposite. We have to negate the idea that there's evil in the world through an evil God. There's darkness in the world through the God of darkness. We need to negate. I don't know what his chacham is. I don't know this. I don't know that. He's one and unique. And I also negate the absolute ridiculous possibility that there's a second entity in charge of other things. That's a negation. We have to be sholel, negate the opposite. Now, in order to negate the opposite, you need to see the opposite. If you don't see the darkness, you can't negate the darkness. In other words, if there's no darkness, you understand that God is the God of light. But the opposite concept, I'm just summarizing this, we're going to go more into this tomorrow and over the coming weeks. The opposite concept, you would never understand. There's no darkness. So how would I understand that God can create darkness and controls the darkness if there is no darkness? So therefore, darkness is created. For me to negate the idea that there's another God in the world, and by negating that, I now come to the conclusion that whatever's created and whatever could be created that hasn't been created, it all can only come from God. And I see these things only through things that appear to my naked eye as the opposite of God. God is only good. But now I see certain things in the world that are not so good. So maybe there's another God. God forbid. I negate that possibility by saying that God is the only one in control. And when I see things that are not so good in my eyes in the world, it's still that God. I negate the possibility that there's a second God that's doing this. That negation is only possible if there is darkness in the world. And then I can begin to negate, and I can say, this is in the world, and it's not coming from another God. This is in the world, not coming from another God. And therefore, God created everything, and even things that I don't see, because he hasn't created them. Those things he could have created as well. He just decided not to create them. We gave the example of fish. There are, let's say, 1 million species of fish. Did God run out of his imagination, and he stopped at 1 million species during the 6 days of creation? That's it. He finished. He didn't have any more imaginative qualities, chas v'sholom. Why? He could have created a fish that has 4 eyes, or 2 eyes in the front and 1 eye on a fin. One that's pink and one that's a fish that has 1 leg. It's infinite. God didn't finish his imaginative qualities with 1 million species. He finished it because we mentioned Shaddai. God created the exact amount of everything that's needed for this world in the system that we have of the Yichud. But God could have created many more things. The Yichud tells us that because there are things in the world that I would assume by superficial vision, these couldn't be God, because God is just a perfect God. These things must be coming from somewhere else. Maybe there's a second God. I negate that. It's all from God. I need to understand why these things are coming from the good God, the only one good God and no other God. Why are these things happening? That's a question. But there's only one God that's in control of the whole thing. However, all the other qualities of God, there's no way to negate. Perush derech mashal begeder hachachma in shayach hasichlos. Kelo hachachma yigdar oso mashadas mole mitziyure hadvar mal yosham. For example, this is what we mentioned. You're going to talk about God's wisdom. What exactly are you going to say? God is so smart. What do you want to negate when you say God is smart? He's not stupid. When I say someone is smart, I'm trying to tell you that he's smart. I might tell you how smart he is, but I'm negating the possibility of stupidity. We don't want to talk about that about God. God is smart to negate the possibility that one would think God is stupid. We don't talk that way. So therefore, in all these qualities, first of all, I can't talk about them, because if I begin talking about them, I can't end them, because I don't know how far the praise goes. It doesn't go anywhere because it's infinite. I end up God degrading God. But even I'm taking a step further, when I say these words, I'm negating the opposite. And what am I negating? Oh, God's smart. He ain't stupid. You're not allowed to talk like that. This is how human beings talk about each other. So the only thing we can talk about is the yichud. God is unique, can't be compared to anything, and this uniqueness includes his sovereignty over the whole world, and there's no second power whatsoever. When we talk about yichud, now we're talking about being able to talk about the opposite. The idea of yichud, yichud shin acha imo. It means he's so unique, there's no one else with him to compare to him. When we talk about qualities, we're talking about the actual affirmative quality and what is included in that quality. When we talk about yichud, uniqueness, we're negating the possibility of evil. We're negating any opposite possibility. And that's what he's going to now develop, the yichud, an explanation of how the yichud, as the purpose of the bria, actually triggers a system of perfect, imperfect reward, punishment, and this the perfectly imperfect system that gives us an opportunity to become a partner with the Ribono Shel Olam in finishing creation of the world. Those Yidden who need a refuah should have a refuah. Those Yidden who need a Yeshua should have a Yeshua. Those Yidden that need a Nechama should have a Nechama. All refuahs, all Yeshuas, all Nechamas, they can only come from the Ribono Shel Olam. The Ribono Shel Olam obviously has messengers, he has doctors, he has others that he sends us to be able to help us, but ultimately the root of all the help, the root of all healing, and the root of all consolation is from the Ribono Shel Olam. Everybody, as I say every day, continue to make the right decisions. The country's virtually completely opened up now. There are going to be flights at some point going back and forth. Everybody make the right decisions, given your age, given your health, etc. Because everyone's doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. If you go to one place, it doesn't automatically mean that this other place is safe. You have to do this on an individual basis, place by place basis. Even if you go to place A, place B may not be a place for you. Make the decisions wisely. We're coming up now to Shavuos. Obviously, everybody wants to daven. Make those decisions wisely. What shul, what is safe, gloves, masks, etc. There are still minyanim that are being done in open areas. If you feel you need a minyan in an open area, there are such minyanim in open areas around Ramat Beit Shemesh. If you feel comfortable and you're in a situation where your health permits you to go into a shul, certainly you can go obviously to a shul. Everybody make the right decisions with Siyata Dishmaya. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help everybody make the right decisions to keep us healthy and strong and well, to continue building the Beis HaMikdash and learning the Daas Tevunos so that we can speedily see Mashiach from Yameinu. Everybody have a wonderful day. Zay Gesund. Tomorrow there'll be a shir We'll begin at 10, be a little different structure. We'll deal a bit with Shavuos. On Thursday, there will not be a shir Erev Yom Tov. Again, everybody have a wonderful, pleasant day.